Just the other day, I covered my top 10 long indie songs, and today I want to give a nod to 10 more lengthy tracks that didn't quite make the cut simply because they didn't quite reach the 10-minute mark. These are great long songs that top 8 minutes but fall shy of 10, and I start out with Built to Spill. It was really hard to pick a single track by Built to Spill. They have quite a few, kind of like the Decemberists. They tend to have about one 8+ minute track per album. I've shared previously on how Perfect From Now On had a huge impact on me growing up. Untrustable Part 2, About Someone Else, is really high up there, just shy of 9 minutes, but my pick has to go to Broken Chairs, the closing track off of their 1999 LP, Keep It Like a Secret, which was my first ever brand new piece of wax purchased, which comes in at a nice, comfortable 8 minutes and 40 seconds. I covered Been Beyond by Woods not too long ago, and that album saw the band transition, moving away from the lo-fi components of their psychedelic folk sounds and injecting a bit more rock into the mix. With Light and With Love, saw them strengthen these convictions and cemented Woods as truly a powerful force in psychedelic indie rock. The focal point on this album is the whopping 9 minute and 7 second title track with Light and With Love, which has great vocal hooks, solid guitar melodies, and an excellent instrumental breakdown and guitar solo. It has long been one of my favorite long songs, and the favorite long song by Woods. I covered Phil Elverum's project Microphones in my 10+ minute songs, blog post, and video for the 44-minute, 44-second track, essentially the album, Microphones in 2020. His other project, Mount Erie, is right here. This is Ocean Roar, and Pale Lights off of it might be why I pulled this piece together, as the track comes in just 1 second shy of 10 minutes. Mount Erie finds this great duality between albums that are stripped bare with minimal instrumentation and experimentation. You've got acoustic works with an emphasis on melody, and contrasting that with crushing noise-based experimental works that flirt with post-rock, experimentation, and a lot more. Pale Lights and Ocean Roar kind of fits the latter, and it comes from two of such albums he released back-to-back in 2012, the other being Clear Moon. If Mary of Silence by Jeff the Brotherhood sounds a little bit familiar, there's a good reason for that. It's actually a cover of a Mazzy Star song off So Tonight That I Might See from 1993. Now, listening to Mazzy Star's original, which barely tops 6 minutes, I'm still continually reminded of how much that band dipped their toes into the hazier side of psychedelic rock, desert rock and stuff along those lines, blending in traits that you'd often find in drone-centric stoner rock, dream pop, and even shoegaze. Jeff the Brotherhood, on the other hand, oscillates between this gritty garage rock component, heavy in albums like Heavy Days and Wasted on a Dream, and the psychedelic tinged stoner rock of Global Chakra Rhythms. I'm a fan of both sounds, but there's really something special about what they created on the latter, and that's where you find Mary of Silence. One of a handful of long tracks by Modest Mouse topping 8 minutes, The Stars Are Projectors opens side C of The Moon and Antarctica with a prolonged intro that swirls and distorts reality before sliding into a familiar and catchy melody. The intro serves as a kind of a sci-fi breakdown before Modest Mouse serves up their quirky, late 90s style of Pacific Northwest indie rock. Of course, I say late 90s even though this is on The Moon and Antarctica, which was released in 2000. My introduction to Destroyer stemmed from Electric Version by the New Pornographers, of which Destroyer frontman Dan Bayer was a member. I became a fan the following year after he released the album Your Blues, thanks to the powerhouse track Notorious Lightning. Destroyer's follow-up to that album, the 2006 LP, Destroyer's Rubies, found me getting even more obsessed with the band. And the reason why is the song that kicks off the album, the 9-minute, 25-second title track, Rubies. As found on the best Destroyer tracks, Bayer's lyrics are a meandering poetry conveyed atop a folk rock bass that is more rock than folk, yet still has traits of both. Rubies doesn't have a consistent beat, and like the meandering vocals, the music goes back and forth between a driving beat and rhythm and sparse breaks, keeping the song nice and diverse. Let's dip more into the electronic side of indie rock. Now first, I must note that this is not their epic track 45:33, which is as long as the track's title. 45 minutes, 33 seconds. However, in terms of power and impact, How Do You Sleep off the band's 2017 LP American Dream became my obsession when I first heard it. It tops 9 minutes. I love this track, though most LCD Sound System fans would probably highlight Dance Yourself Clean as their favorite lengthy track. That one chimes in at just over 9 minutes as well. Celebrating its 10th anniversary this year is Harlem River, the debut solo release by Kevin Morby, whose projects prior to going solo included The Babies with Cassie Ramone of Vivian Girls, and a stint as bassist for the band Woods, who I talked about earlier on this list. 10 years later, the title track on this album remains Morby's longest track, spanning 9.25 minutes. And it's my pick to include on this list because Morby is among my favorite artists. I would rarely consider mellow, laid-back Americana conducive to long, drawn-out tracks, yet alone long, drawn-out tracks that are great. Yet I can rattle off a number by Jason Molina and his projects, Songs Ohio and Magnolia Electric Company, that fit the bill. In fact, the near 12-minute track, Not Just a Ghost's Heart, almost made my 10+ minute list. However, I find Blue Factory Flame off Didn't It Rain to be a little bit more powerful. I remember seeing Molina live back in the mid to late aughts at the Seattle Folk Festival. I was just walking around and stumbled upon his show. And I was blown away by his performance. Despite being quite minimal in nature, Molina was always captivating as a musician, no matter if he was as a solo artist performing with just an acoustic guitar or as Magnolia Electric Company in a much more rock-centric band. He is truly, truly missed. Like Jason Molina, Fleet Foxes doesn't seem like a band to create a particularly lengthy song, but with The Shrine / An Argument, they do just that. In fact, to my knowledge, this 8-minute and 7-second song is the only one that they've given us so far that tops 8 minutes. And it is a stunner. This one includes a few movements, including a truly spectacular and somewhat instrumental saxophone improv solo breakdown. Were it not for that component, I'm not really sure this song would hold the power it does. Thus, it would probably fall off the list. Everything works together from the first movement, aka the shrine, to the breakdown and conclusion in the argument. That concludes my part 2 list of indie epics, with part 1 being focused on the 10+ minute songs and part 2 being the one featuring songs that are truly great but fall shy of that 10-minute mark, yet still are above 8 minutes. What would you add to this list? What's missing? What amazing song tops 8 minutes but is shy of 10? Let me know down in the comments. And if you haven't yet, check out this video right here because it is the list that tops 10 minutes. It's part 1. I'll see you right over there and see you next time.